That night, Mirabel lay on the floor, weak from fasting. She drifted into a deep sleep. In her dream, she was back in the water, that same place. Only this time, the three women stood on a large mortar, shining with strange power. They looked at her and spoke clearly. "You can't marry. You were given to us before you were born. You belong to us." Mirabel's body shook in the dream, but this time she didn't run. She stood tall, lifted her hands and began to pray in tongues, loudly, fiercely, with fire in her eyes.
"I belong to Jesus,"
she shouted,
"and I must marry."
The water roared. The women staggered. They hissed and tried to speak, but they began to fade, and suddenly they were gone. Subtle dedication. She grew up in a humble home in Kwara State, the first of two daughters. Her mother, Mama Mira, was a trader who sold fabrics in the local markets, hardworking, prayerful, and the kind of mother who used proverbs to end every conversation. Her younger sister, Pamela, was the bubble one, full of energy and always asking questions. Their father had passed away when Mirabel was just 9, so Mama Mira carried the weight of the home alone. It wasn't easy, but somehow they survived. Laughter still lived in their kitchen, and prayer still echoed from their walls. The day the admission letter arrived, the whole neighborhood had the news.
University of Ilorin? Ha! That's a good school, oh. God has finally answered Mama Mira's prayer.
Mirabel had been offered admission to study mass communication. She had applied with quiet faith, no loud declaration, no backup plan, and now it had happened. Mama Mira hugged her tightly that night, the kind of hug that held both pride and prayer.
"You see, Mirabel,"
she said, brushing her daughter's hair gently,
"this life will only open for you. You will go there and make me proud. Just stay focused, keep your legs closed, keep your heart clean, and never forget God."
Mirabel smiled.
"I won't forget, Mommy. I promise."
They didn't have much, but they prepared like royalty. A new bucket, 2 wrappers, a flask, a one suitcase with a working zipper, and of course her Bible, tucked inside with Mama Mira's handwritten prayer in the front cover. The morning she left, they all prayed in the small sitting room, hands held, eyes closed. Pamela cried. Mama Mira didn't, but her voice shook during the prayer.
"This girl will not go and get lost in that school. Evil eyes will not see her. Wrong friends will not find her. She will walk in light. She will return with honor."
Then Mirabel picked up her bag, turned one last time and waved. She was going to the university, a whole new world. The university life was everything and nothing like she expected. There were people from everywhere, speaking Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa, and languages she had never heard before. Girls with all kinds of fashion, boys with all kinds of perfume. She stayed in Queen Amina's hall, a hostel filled with girls who played music too loud, boiled water at 5 a.m. and never seemed to sleep. At first, Mirabel kept to herself. She swept her corner, arranged her locker, and greeted politely. But by the end of the first week, her roommates had already started warming up to her.
"You are too quiet," one of them said, "but I like you."
She chuckled.
"I'm still studying the environment."
Lectures began soon after. She got lost the first day, wandered into the wrong faculty building, and had to ask a security man for directions. But slowly she figured it out. The timetable, the bus stops, the unspoken rule of avoiding late night amala from the hostel canteen. She wrote notes carefully, sat in front when she could, and went to church on Sundays. She missed home sometimes, especially Pamela's jokes, but she was adjusting. At night, she would sometimes sit by the window of her room, staring at the sky, whispering prayers under her breath.
"God, please help me here. I just want to do well."
It had been over a year since Mirabel began her studies at the University of Ilorin. She had adjusted well, lectures no longer felt overwhelming, her note-taking was sharp, and she even had a few friends in her department. She wasn't the loudest or the most popular, but those who knew her respected her. She was calm, focused, and always carried herself with quiet confidence. Her mother still called her every Sunday evening. Pamela would grab the phone and tease her about bringing home a rich husband. And Mama Mira would end every call with prayer.
Don't follow boys, Mirabel. Focus on your books,
she did always say. And Mirabel would laugh softly.
I am focusing, mommy.
It was a warm Thursday afternoon when the story took a new turn. Mirabel had just finished a long lecture. Her bag was heavy with textbooks, but her mind was on her food locker. It was nearly empty. Her mother had sent her monthly allowance that night before, so she decided to take a short trip off campus to buy provisions. The market wasn't crowded that day. She entered a small corner shop and began picking items: cereal, milk, tissue paper, and a new toothbrush. That's when he walked in, tall, well-dressed, and with the look of someone who knew what he wanted. Kenny stepped in, glancing around the shelves. He was in town visiting his cousin, who lived nearby, and had stopped in to buy some snacks. When he saw Mirabel, he paused. There was something about her, the way she moved, the quiet way she asked the shopkeeper for prices. She wasn't flashy or loud, but he couldn't stop staring. He waited until she was done. As she stepped outside, he followed.
Excuse me,
he said gently.
Hi, sorry to bother you. I saw you in the shop and I didn't want to let you walk away without saying something.
Mirabel looked at him briefly. She wasn't rude, but she wasn't interested either.
Okay,
she said simply.
Can I at least get your number? I'd like to talk to you. Maybe friends.
I don't give my number to strangers,
she replied, firm but polite. But Kenny wasn't aggressive. He simply smiled and said,
I understand, but if you change your mind, I will be grateful.
She hesitated, then slowly took out her phone and gave him her number, unsure why she did. He called the very next day, and then the next, and the next. The conversation started simple. How was her day? How was school? But they grew deeper. Kenny was patient, respectful, and funny in a gentle way. He didn't flirt too much or pressure her. He just listened and spoke kindly. Within 2 months, Mirabel realized she had fallen in love. It was her first relationship, real, soft, and sweet. Kenny came to visit her once in a while. He never crossed boundaries, and she felt safe around him. He encouraged her to focus on her studies. He even called her Golden Girl. She didn't tell her mother right away. She didn't know how to. It all felt too new. But for once, her heart was full. It felt like everything was falling into place. One night, she found herself in a strange place, standing knee-deep in water, the kind that shimmered but had no shore. 3 women sat nearby, half smiling, watching her. She woke up confused. She didn't remember eating anything strange the night before, but the dreams came again. Each time it was the same: water, the 3 women, and silence. Sometimes they looked amused, sometimes serious. They always sat in the water with her, like they were waiting for something. Mirabel didn't tell anyone. Who would believe her? She brushed it off as stress, but deep inside, she felt something wasn't right. In her final year, with her relationship going strong, a shift came. A roommate named Kelechi, who had always envied Mirabel's peace, started watching her closely. She saw the way Mirabel smiled when Kenny called. She saw the thoughtful gifts, the glow, and jealousy crept in like a poison. One day, when Mirabel went into the bedroom to hide her beds, Kenny called, but she wasn't around to pick her calls.
That was when Kelechi copied out Kenny's number.
Then she called him and fabricated a lie, a wicked one at that. She told Kenny that Mirabel was seeing another guy on campus, but she had caught her with him at night, that she was just using him. She added made-up stories, twisted truths, and whispered everything over a phone call. Kenny didn't call to ask Mirabel. He didn't even text. He simply disappeared. He blocked her line, vanished from her life. No explanation, no warning, just silence. Mirabel called and called, nothing. Her chest ached. She cried for nights. She didn't understand. Had done nothing wrong. And the dreams, they became more intense. The women in the water were now speaking, but their words were muffled. The feeling was heavier, like something ancient and unfinished was now awake. Graduation came with both joy and silence. Mirabel had finished her degree, top 5 in her department with glowing recommendations from 2 lecturers. But inside, her heart still carried a quiet pain. Kenny was gone, the dreams still came, and she didn't have answers. Still, she smiled on convocation day. She posed for pictures with Pamela, hugged her mother tightly, and whispered a prayer as she threw her cap into the sky.
Lord, let this next chapter be better.
A few months later, the NYSC posting came in, and Mirabel was assigned to a camp in Osun State. She packed her white sneakers, white shorts and white shirts, food items, provisions, and groceries into her bags. She wasn't excited, but she wasn't afraid either. Mama Mira prayed over her before she left.
This one will favor you, Mirabel. You will find peace there.
And maybe she did. On the first day at the camp, she was assigned to Platoon 5, the same platoon as a young man named Emeka Okoye. Emeka was different. He wasn't loud or flashy. He was clean, smart, and full of quiet confidence, the kind that came from being raised well. His father was a businessman in Lagos, his mother a retired teacher. Emeka had studied engineering and had plans to start a tech firm one day. They met during parade rehearsal. He helped adjust her belt when the soldier barked at her for wearing it like a civilian. She laughed awkwardly and said,
"Thank you. I've never worn a uniform in my life."
That small moment turned into friendship. Friendship turned into long conversations under the mango tree beside the camp clinic. By the second week, people had noticed.
Emeka and that fine girl, they always work out together. See love in Platoon 5.
Emeka didn't hide his interest.
Mirabel, I don't want this to end in camp. I want to know you better, even after this place.
And just like that, love tiptoed back into her life. By the 3rd week of camp, Emeka had used his family connections to make sure they were both posted to the same place of primary assignments, a private company in Osogbo, where they were both needed for media and tech support. It felt like fate. They continued growing together, attended church fellowship, did CDS together, and even hosted a small Bible study group for other core members. People admired them. Emeka was serious. He wasn't playing around. He told Mirabel plainly,
I want to marry you. I want my family to know you.
For the first time in a long while, Mirabel allowed her heart to hope again. But the dreams didn't stop. Even with how beautiful things were, Mirabel still had those dreams. Still the 3 women, still the water, still the same heavy presence. Only now, in the dreams, they began to whisper, "You belong to us. You can't marry. He will leave too." Mirabel would wake up in cold sweats. She told no one, not even Emeka. Maybe it's just fear, she told herself. Maybe I'm still healing from Kenny. But her spirits knew something deeper was going on. Near the end of their service year, Emeka traveled home to Lagos to see his family and share the news about Mirabel. He came back looking quiet. He didn't even call her for 2 days. When he finally asked to see her, he didn't come with flowers like he used to. They sat by the company gate after work. He held her hand gently and said,
Mira, my mother said no.
Her heart stopped.
"What?"
she asked, voice trembling.
She said you are not from our tribe. She believes it won't work. I tried to convince her, I swear I did. But she's not budging. She even threatened to disown me.
Mirabel stared at him.
"And what about you? What do you want?"
He looked down.
I want you, but I can't go against her, not like this.
And just like that, another relationship ended. Another love story, another heartbreak, another goodbye she didn't ask for. NYSC was over. Mirabel packed her bags, collected her discharge certificates, and boarded a bus back home to Kwara State. It should have felt like an achievement, a season completed, but instead, it felt like another chapter closed without answers. No job yet, no relationship, just her certificates, her dreams, and a heart full of unanswered prayers. At first, it was good to be back. Pamela was finishing her own degree. and Mama Mira still cooked her favorite egusi with fufu on Sundays. But peace didn't last long. Every conversation slowly turned to one topic.
Mirabel, when are you bringing a man home? Your mates are already mothers of 2 children. People will soon start talking. No, I can't keep defending you. You're not getting younger. Oh.
At first, she laughed it off.
Mommy, don't worry, my time will come.
But as days turned to weeks and weeks into months, the war started to hurt. Her mother meant well, but the pressure felt like heat on her skin. After 6 months of job hunting, Mirabel finally got a job as a client service assistant in a private firm. The pay wasn't fantastic, but it gave her something to hold on to. She started contributing to the house, bought foodstuffs, paid small bills, helped Pamela with her project printing. But still, the marriage talk never stopped. It became harder when her friends began posting wedding invitations on WhatsApp. She was genuinely happy for them, but her own phone remained silent. No suitors, no proposals, just quiet nights and forced smiles. Eventually, out of pressure, not passion, Mirabel began accepting men she normally would never consider. Some only wanted her body. Some pretended to care, but ghosted when she mentioned marriage. Some mocked her prayers, her job, even her dreams. One even said,
"You are beautiful, but at your age, you should be more humble."
That night, she cried until her pillow was wet. She knelt by her bed and whispered,
God, what is happening to me? Am I cursed? Why do they all leave?
And still, the dreams never stopped. The 3 women in the water were still there. Sometimes they were silent. Sometimes they smiled like they knew something she didn't. She began to fear sleep. One Saturday afternoon, after another argument with her mother about marriage, Mirabel snapped. She packed her things and moved out of her family home. It wasn't out of hatred. She just needed space. Space to think, to breathe, to pray without judgment, to cry in peace. She found a small apartment on the outskirts of town. It wasn't much, but it was hers. She began attending church more intentionally. She fasted. She sowed seeds. She gave. She cried. She hoped. She read scriptures about Sarah, Hannah, and Ruth.
God, remember me too,
she whispered. Still, no man stayed. Those who tried always left suddenly. Some after lies were told, some for no reason at all. Mirabel began to feel that something spiritual was blocking her joy. One day, while trekking home from work, because bikes were scarce that evening, she met a young girl about her age, holding flyers and speaking softly to passers-by.
Jesus loves you. He can heal every hurt. He can break every chain.
Mirabel collected the flyer without interest and continued on. That night, she tossed it on her table and forgot about it. But heaven doesn't forget. Weeks passed, work continued, life continued, but inside, Mirabel was growing restless, like something deep within her soul was beginning to stir. She still hadn't opened that flyer the girl gave her. It was tucked inside her Bible, half forgotten. Until one morning, she was rearranging her room when it fell out. A simple card, white and blue, a small picture of a church on the front and bold words that said, "Freedom Night, Deliverance from Ancient Altars." Mirabel froze. Something about it tugged at her heart. She read it again slowly. That Friday after work, instead of going home, she took a keke straight to the address. The church was small but full of life. The choir sang with fire, and the preacher didn't sugarcoat anything. He spoke about delay, about dreams that repeat, about water spirits and ancestral dedications, about hidden covenants made on someone's behalf. And then he said something that broke her.
Some of you are fighting demons your mother unknowingly handed you, but you can break it tonight.
Mirabel's body trembled. Her palms felt hot. When the altar call came, she stood up. She didn't walk. She ran. That night, she rededicated her life to Christ, fully, intentionally, and fiercely. The following week, during Bible study, the topic was seeking God through fasting. Mirabel went home with a decision burning in her chest.
I need answers, real answers.
It was a public holiday period, no week. She locked her door and began a 3-day dry fast. No food, no distractions, just water, her Bible and prayer. On the third day of her fast, she had a revelation. That night, Mirabel lay on the floor, weak from fasting. She drifted into a deep sleep. In her dream, she was back in the water, that same place. Only this time, the three women stood on a large mortar, shining with strange power. They looked at her and spoke clearly. You can't marry. You were given to us before you were born. You belong to us. Mirabel's body shook in the dream, but this time she didn't run. She stood tall, lifted her hands and began to pray in tongues, loudly, fiercely, with fire in her eyes.
I belong to Jesus,
she shouted.
and I must marry.
The water roared. The women staggered. They hissed and tried to speak, but they began to fade, and suddenly they were gone. She woke up breathless, sweating and crying, but free. That morning she dressed up and went straight to her mother's house. She sat her mother down and said,
Mommy, please, I need the truth. Was I ever taken to the river before I was born?
Mama Doris blinked, confused.
No, Mirabel, why are you asking such thing? Mommy, think well, please. Anything at all?
Silence. Then slowly, Mama Mira's face changed. She looked down. Her fingers trembled, and memories she had buried long ago rose to the surface.
When I was pregnant with you, I almost lost the pregnancy. My mother, who was your grandmother, told me I needed to go to the river. She said I must do sacrifices to keep you safe. She took me there. There were chants. She gave them palm oil, white clothes, a live fowl. She told me to say, let them take the child, but let me survive the birds. I was scared. I just wanted you to be born. I never knew it would follow you.
Mirabel's hands covered her face.
So it's true,
she whispered.
That's why nothing worked. That's why they came in my dreams.
Mommy,
they claimed me.
Her mother began to cry.
I didn't know. Please forgive me. I only did what I was told.
But Mirabel wasn't angry. She was awake now, and she had a name for her battle. After the dream broke, something changed. It wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic, but Mirabel could feel it, like the weight on her shoulders had shifted. She had prayed, she had fasted, she had found the roots, and now she was free. From that day, her prayers became full of thanksgiving instead of tears. Her worship had boldness instead of begging. She didn't beg for marriage anymore. She began to declare it.
I will marry well. I will not be delayed. My home will be a testimony.
1 week later, something unexpected happened. Her company had a scheduled business meeting with their long-standing partner, a well-established media agency in Lagos. The agency sent their representative to Ilorin to meet with the CEO of Mirabel's company. His name was Mr. Adeolu James, a polished, well-mannered gentleman in his late 30s with a calm voice and sharp mind. While in the middle of a boardroom conversation, he excused himself to use the restroom. On his way back, just outside the hallway, he saw someone stepping out of the women's restroom. A graceful, soft-faced woman with a simple smile and clear eyes. She didn't notice him, but he noticed her. When he returned to the meeting, his mind was no longer on the budget numbers. He leaned toward the CEO and asked,
Sorry to interrupt you, but the lady I just saw in the hallway, short natural hair, navy blue blouse, who is she?
The CEO smiled knowingly.
That's Mirabel, one of the most disciplined and focused staff I have. Why do you ask?
Adeolu paused for a second, then he said with quiet certainty,
I'd like to meet her.
The CEO called Mirabel into his office later that day.
Mirabel, do you remember the man from Adetech who came in today?
Yes, sir,
she answered, surprised.
Noticed you. He's not some modern random guy. I've known him for years. He's respectful, hardworking, and godly. He said he wants to meet you properly.
Mirabel stood still. She didn't feel butterflies. She didn't feel fear. She felt peace.
All right, sir,
she said softly. Their first conversation was calm and clear. Adeolu didn't waste time pretending.
I'm not here to play games, Miss Mirabel. I admire you. I want to know you. And if it leads there, I want something serious.
She smiled. Guarded at first, but after weeks of talking, calling, and gentle pursuits, she saw his sincerity. There were no rumors, no sudden disappearances, no strange dreams, just clarity, stability, and peace. 2 months later, he asked her to marry him.
I believe God sent you into my life, he said, and I don't want to waste time.
Mirabel said yes. At the age of 32, dressed in white lace and glowing joy, Mirabel walked down the aisle, not as a victim of delay, but as a daughter of deliverance. Mama Mira cried the loudest, Pamela danced the hardest, and the church hall was filled with songs of praise. What years of tears couldn't produce, one moment of spiritual clarity had unlocked. Mirabel's life became a testimony, not just of love, but of the power of revelation. She learned that some delays are not natural, some dreams are warnings, and some battles must be fought on your knees. She also learned that God never forgets. Those who sow in tears would often say will reap in joy. And that's what she did, joyfully, gloriously, and beautifully. In addition to that, be careful of where you step your foot into in search of solutions, cause the devil always takes advantage of men's ignorance to cripple their lives and destiny. Hello fam, thank you for watching through to the end of this video. Please consider subscribing to our channel if you are yet to do that. Like and share this video, and until we meet on our next story, bye.